Frequency, Chapter 12, Part 2.
This is amazing,
Addie whispered, blissfully unaware of the tingling that coursed through Vinyl's body.
Hey!
Vinyl pulled her head back, cheeks burning.
Those things are sensitive, you know. Oh,
Addie's hand jerked back.
I'm so sorry, I didn't know. It didn't hurt or anything, did it?
Vinyl gave a weak smile.
It's not that kind of sensitivity. It's not?
Addie's brow furrowed, but then her eyebrows shot up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. No, it's fine.
Vinyl waved a dismissive hoof as the fire in her cheeks finally died down.
You didn't know.
She abruptly smirked as a certain image flashed in her mind.
My cold friend might get jealous if he finds out, though.
Jealous about what? Vinyl gasped and jerked around to discover Flash standing behind her, a sickeningly cute look of confusion plastered on his face.
What the hey are you doing here?
He shrugged. I have no idea. He grinned and nuzzled her. But I am glad to see you.
Is that really?
Addie gasped and stepped up close to study him.
He really is the Pegasus! Holy wow.
He glanced at her. Oh, hey, Addie. He promptly resumed nuzzling Vinyl's chest. She understood almost immediately. Her cheeks reddened once more at his attention.
Great, I brought him here.
She grumbled. Addie gave her a curious look.
What do you mean?
Vinyl tried pushing Flash away, but he only pressed in closer with a pleasant hum. God, her cheeks were hot.
Luna told me a little about dreamweaving. I thought of Flash, and here he is, but he's not really Flash.
She shoved him aside with a snarl.
Would you get off?
He hit the ground on his side and began to shine a bright blue. He looked up at her with a hurt expression, complete with those big puppy eyes she loved and hated so much. Within a couple of seconds, he was gone, leaving her with guilt. Addie gaped at her own hands.
You mean, if we just think about it, it'll show? Something like that?
Vinyl replied with a huff, smoothing her fur where Flash had been rubbing against her. She looked up and blinked. The field was gone. They were in a city now, surrounded by closely packed little houses that looked like they had seen better decades. Broken windows, dead shrubs, littered streets covered in cracks. It was a veritable slum. She peered at a strange object on wheels that reminded her vaguely of a turtle, only longer and made of metal. Several of them lined the street.
Oh, God.
Vinyl turned to find Addie staring at a lone house covered in chipped, stained red paint. Her hands were raised as if she wanted to reach for the screen door.
Addie?
Vinyl stepped up beside her and saw fresh tears forming in her eyes.
What's wrong?
Addie stumbled forward, her hand resting against the wood.
I never thought I'd see it so clearly again. To touch it like this.
Her lips trembled, and she smiled at Vinyl.
This is Chicago. This is home. I grew up here. Home? This place?
Vinyl bit her tongue, hard. Yet even as she fought to restrain herself, she couldn't help but turn a small circle and take in her surroundings. It was astounding how similar this place looked, compared to an equestrian city. At least in terms of the structures. Addie chuckled.
I know, it's not much to look at.
She reached for the handle of the screen door, but hesitated. After a few seconds, she stepped back. Vinyl tilted her head.
What's wrong? Don't you want to go in? No.
Addie turned away from the house and shook her head forcefully.
I can't. This isn't really home, right? I shouldn't be dwelling on it. But...
Vinyl gaped at the house, and then at Addie as she walked past.
I thought you'd... Why? Please, Vinyl.
Addie hugged herself and shook.
Take me somewhere, anywhere. I don't care, just not here.
She looked between Addie and the house. At last, she nodded and began to concentrate on the first place to come to mind. In a blink, the buildings all warped and changed locations. The wood and dirty brick being instantly replaced with white stone and marble. Canterlot Castle arose in the distance, like a waking giant, and cobblestone seemed to burst out of the ground like water to replace the concrete street. Addie gasped and turned a small circle, taking in the beauty of the city.
What is this place? Canterlot.
Vinyl replied with a smile.
We're in the arts district. It's so clean.
Addie's lips turned up in a smile.
So this is what a pony city looks like. This is the upper levels.
Vinyl rubbed the back of her head.
I live in the lower levels, which aren't as well kept. I just thought you'd prefer to see the fancy side of town. Canterlot.
Addie took a few steps, her head craning back so she could take in the castle far above them.
Canterlot. Camelot. Suddenly the name feels so much more appropriate. Well, better get used to it,
Vinyl said, stepping beside her.
This may be where you'll be living for a while.
Addie's expression darkened, but it cleared so quickly Vinyl might have just imagined it.
Maybe. It's certainly prettier than Chicago. You said it, not me.
Vinyl chuckled.
When you get here in reality, I'll be sure to show you around.
This time she knew Addie's frown wasn't imagined.
I'd like that.
The smile came back in full spread.
I want to see more. Now hold on.
Vinyl sat and tapped a hoof to the back of her cannon.
Quid pro quo, right? You gotta show me stuff too. Oh, right.
Addie blushed and considered her.
I'm not sure what... oh, I know. Let's see if I got this right.
She held up her hands theatrically and closed her eyes, waving them as if to perform some sort of magic. Vinyl hid her smile behind her cannon at the ridiculousness of it. The world shifted once more, the buildings turning green and sinking down into the ground like accordions. The ground rose beneath Vinyl's hooves, carrying them both up several feet as the rest of the world seemed to sink. After only a couple of seconds, they were sitting in an empty field of swaying grass. Addie opened her eyes and grinned.
This is even easier than I thought. Yeah, pretty simple.
Vinyl looked around, but saw nothing of interest.
So, why'd you bring us back to the field? I didn't.
Addie pointed over Vinyl's shoulder, and she turned around to see a strange cylindrical object in the distance. She peered at the orange and white... something.
What the heck is that supposed to be?
A rumbling sound filled her ears, and abruptly a plume of white smoke burst from beneath the object. She took a tentative step back as the cylinder steadily began to rise from the earth.
That?
Addie said, kneeling beside her and resting her hands to her shoulder.
Is how humans usually go to space. Sit down on a huge rocket filled with tons and tons of volatile chemicals, and hope it doesn't blow up.
Vinyl's jaw dropped as her eyes followed the rocket higher and higher into the sky.
Holy horseshoes, isn't that dangerous? Yeah, it can be.
Addie reached her hand out and snapped her fingers, and the rocket erupted in smoke and flame, making Vinyl gasp.
It happened a few times.
Vinyl stared at the descending debris, then looked to Addie.
Is that how you got up there? Not quite.
Addie replied with a smile.
My ship actually had a runway, though it did require rocket boosters to get out of the atmosphere. That still sounds really dangerous.
Vinyl pointed at the sky, and a large wooden vessel passed over them, its vast balloon covering the sun.
That's the best we can do when it comes to flying without wings. To think I used to believe airships were advanced. Maybe it's better that way.
Addie whispered, then tapped Vinyl's head.
Your turn. Show me something cool. Hey!
Vinyl pointed at the ship again.
You show me a rocket, I show you an airship. Your turn. Is it?
Addie smiled and scratched behind Vinyl's ear. The feel of her dexterous fingers had a surprisingly soothing effect, and Vinyl let out a small whimper.
I think you should go now. What the hey?
Vinyl shifted and tried to pull away, a weak smile coming to her lips.
How are you?
She trembled and couldn't resist leaning towards Addie.
No fair.
Addie chuckled.
I didn't actually think that would work.
She brought her other hands to bear, scratching behind both ears and making Vinyl whimper.
Wow, you really like that, don't you?
Vinyl trembled and ground her teeth together. At last, she managed to make herself bound forward.
Alright, you win. Just stop it.
She settled down a safe distance away and shook herself as if to fling water from her coat. She glowered and tried to rub the pink from her cheeks.
That's cheating. Yeah, as if you don't want me to do it.
Addie grinned and reached her hands forward, her fingers wriggling.
Come on, show me something else. I'm thinking.
She rubbed behind her ears to try and get the lingering sensation to fade away.
Not sure what else to show you. I don't really travel a lot, not since Dad died.
Addie sat in the grass and crossed her legs.
Is there some place important to you? Important?
Vinyl studied her hooves as she pondered. A stray thought came to mind, and with it she felt the world shifting once more. She winced, realizing almost immediately where she was taking them. She waited until she felt the magic fading before she looked up at the rows upon rows of stones. A familiar one sat between and to the left of them, and at the sight of it, made her smile. You know, I had a small feeling she was gonna do this after mentioning her mom and dad. Could be some interesting dialogue, though. Anywho, let's get on to our wistful donators. Top donators: Jessie Smith, Star630, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and Caladis. Magic, Jock, Rayden, Runescythe, Will, Twinkie, Luigi, Chancellor, Crust, Big Smoke, Murder Princess, Little Mighty, Solar Symphony, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.